day guys, nice to have you here. Today we'll cover a lot of stuff. We'll discuss different build paths, strategies, tips, and tricks when playing Alucard. Expect tons of very helpful information that's guaranteed to help you win more games, so make sure to pay very close attention. Oh, and yes, this is based on the advanced server's latest patch update, which means we will also talk about some of the best talent configuration for Alucard. Also, we're not going to discuss the laning phase in this video since that's not why we're here. Instead, if you want to learn more on how to properly manage the lane, dominate the side lane, and delay your enemy's experience and gold, watch this video instead. I'll leave a link in the description for you guys.
Somebody help me!
You have slain an enemy!
Let's first talk about the buff they gave Alucard in the advanced server. His second skill was buffed back to back, which gives us more than enough reasons to always prioritize this skill next only to his ultimate. Not only does it deal very high damage, it also has a much lower cooldown compared to his first skill. Now, let's talk about the different talent configurations I think will suit Alucard well. So far, this is my favorite configuration and is best used when playing Alucard on the side lane. It boasts tremendous damage output, especially against enemies that are isolated from their teammates. I was in fact supposed to use this configuration in this game, but I mistakenly used a different talent set. Because of the very high damage output this talent boasts, it can be suitable for any equipment build path. Speaking of equipment build path, we will cover that shortly, discuss different types of equipment build paths, and the pros and cons of each build. Which brings me to my second favorite talent configuration. This also I believe is best used when playing Alucard as a jungler. It's pretty much the same as the first talent set I showed earlier. The only difference is I equipped Battle Frenzy instead of Master Assassin. I just don't see Master Assassin as useful if you are battling 2 or more enemies 60% of the time as a jungler. With Battle Frenzy, not only are you improving your HP sustain thanks to the lifesteal he receives, which by the way, also partially benefits his skills since some of it gets converted to spell vamp. It also improves Alucard's damage output by 6% once max stacks have been achieved. Same as the previous talent set, this can be very effective regardless of the equipment build path you choose. This one is a work in progress but can be very useful against heroes that rely on high burst damage. It can help Alucard survive their combos that normally kill him in a split second by helping him regenerate as much HP as possible with the help of high damage equipment. Because of how low the damage output this talent set gives him, I suggest using this with a damage focused build path, or in other words an equipment build that contains mostly physical damage equipment. Let's move forward with the battle spells. Execute is still an excellent go-to spell when Alucard is played on the side lane. Vengeance is a nice battle spell to have against heroes that have higher damage output than Alucard. It allows him to survive their skill combos, which can hopefully help him win the matchup thanks also to his HP sustain. Purify is another excellent choice, which pretty much makes up for his major weakness from control effects. This is best used when Alucard is played with a damage focused build. When played as a jungler, I still think Ice Retribution is the best way to go because of the slow effect it inflicts. And of course, if you feel like getting other battle spells for him such as Arrival, that's okay. In my opinion though, that strongly depends on your playstyle and comfort zone. I mean, what's the point of having Arrival, which is best used for split pushing, if you have mediocre map awareness and macro management skills, right? If you like what you're watching so far, consider giving a thumbs up, share, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to the channel. And if you want to help me fund videos like this, consider getting the official Dbringer merch. We have apparel, travel mugs, tumblers, and so much more. Here's the best part, you can also customize your own merchandise by either using a combination of the designs we already have available, or you can give it your personal touch by uploading your own design. Click the link in the description below and check it out. Let's now talk about the equipment build. We'll start with the supplementary equipment. Supplementary equipment, or in other words optional equipment, are strongly reliant on the situation and the enemy team's lineup, and may or may not be built. Quint's Wings provides him with tremendous survivability, especially since his passive allows him to convert half of his lifesteal to spell vamp. The only downside and reason why this equipment is not one of my favorites is the very long downtime it has. Oracle is pretty obvious. It improves his HP regen, which ultimately makes him very difficult to kill, while the rest of the equipment are meant to help him survive against enemies based on their damage type. Boots are also considered as a supplementary equipment, and the type of boots you get strongly varies depending on the situation and the team's lineup. I usually get tough boots because of its ability to reduce control effects. Getting warrior boots or magic shoes is totally up to you, or depending on how you want to mix and match Alucard's recommended builds and talent sets. Let's move forward with the most used build path on Alucard. That's none other than the damage-focused build path. This equipment set allows him to take down enemies within a very short period of time, which is the reason why it's very famous. Since it deals so much damage and defense penetration, the lifesteal he gains is significantly higher as well. The only issue with this build is how squishy Alucard is the moment his attacks are put to a stop, such as with the use of control effects. If you want to use this build, you have to be extremely careful with your decisions, and if needed, enter clashes a bit later than your other teammates. Let them soak in some of the control effects from the enemies first, which will allow you to wreak havoc and sweep away the enemies.
Skill is the child of patience.
Prioritize turrets.
Launch attack! Ally has been slain. Enemy team destroy the turret! Launch attack! Enemy has been slain. Initiate retreat! Split push! Godlike! Enemy has been slain.
Next is the Bruiser, also known as the semi-tank or hybrid build path. This is my favorite build path since it suits my playstyle well, which is going head-to-head or head-on Leroy Jenkins style on the enemies. What I like about this build is that it's very deceiving. Because Has Claws and War Axe are not particularly good when a duel or clash just began, some players become complacent and tend to forget how overpowered both of these equipments are once the fighting has dragged long enough. Invest in both of this equipment early, and depending on how well or bad your team is performing, you can get Endless Battle as your third equipment. If your team is ahead by a huge margin, you can get Endless Battle by choice. If your team is behind, especially when you yourself are not performing very well, invest in defensive equipment instead. While obviously this is not as powerful as the damage-focused build, it somehow solves Alucard's weakness of becoming an Alu feed. This can be beneficial for helping protect squishy carries by acting as the secondary tank of the team who is not afraid to take on enemies from the get-go. And since this is my favorite build, it's what I got for this game. The enemies had Dirat though, who normally works great against bruisers or hybrids, but since our team was winning by a landslide, I decided to go with it anyway.
Made in heaven.
Shut down! You destroy the turret!
Made in heaven.
Legendary! Enemy has been slain!
Be mindful of your thoughts, they betray you.
Ult is not ready.
Always on the move. Let's get a move on. We've got a battle to win here.
Your team destroyed a turret. Monster kill.
I will do what I must.
That concludes our Mobile Legends game guide for today. Do you have any other recommendations that will help other players improve? How about our pro Alucard players out there? I'm sure there's a lot of you subscribe. Help us out and give some pro tips on the comment section below. And again, if you haven't yet, don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Stay safe everyone. Peace.